Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. With the most Terran player out there in the red, it's Micro Jackson. ByuN. Facing off against the Zerg player voted most likely to raise my blood pressure in the blue, we have SHIN. In a best of 5 Terran versus Zerg showdown. In a matchup between these two players, well, they seem to face off pretty much every day that ends in Y. In a match worthy of asking you why you haven't yet smashed that like button and maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what do we have? No cringe. 1,677 likes on this video, on this cast. I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I can do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better as ByuN with 1 Marine is going 3 command centers. He's digging deep and greedily on Antimatter, one of our community maps, which has a pocket base guarded only by a mineral wall, but there's 20 minerals apiece, so I don't think it's likely that SHIN's going to be burrowing through that with the drones. So he's going to get away with it. And he slaps down another factory. It looks like ByuN going to be taking us to McDonald's right off the bat, getting us a big mech strategy and breaking out the most brittle of builds, but one that is almost impossible to deal with if it goes unscouted. The Hell Clone strategy. The reason you don't usually see mech is that Marines are more than good enough. Also, the infrastructure cost. A lot of people don't respect investment in infrastructure. 100 Vespene gas for each factory is a big down payment in order to be able to get enough production. That is a significant percentage of your early gas income, and that's why ramping up to this mech composition can sometimes be a risky endeavor. But ByuN, of course, is always on the lookout for those sort of things. And the Overlord sauntering...
The opponent. Time to raise your APM. Queen's ready. Here comes a new challenger.
The Overlord, a bit of a diva itself, but SHIN, I've made this mistake before, and I'm sure I'll make this mistake again. But SHIN, a big fan of the diva announcer. I assume he has his in Korean, but I digress. And did the Overlord spot the factories? No. It did not spot the 2 extra tech lab factories researching Magfield Accelerator and Infernal Pre-Igniter. And for people who actually care about knowing what things mean, that's 50% more damage on the Cyclone lock-on ability. And a whole bunch more damage against light to light up Zerglings, but not Banelings. Banelings are not light units, much like your mother. Instead, they don't have a tag, but they just don't have very much HP, so Hellions are still very good against them. So Cyclones and Hellions covering each other, the most mobile composition since Zerglings themselves, and Zerglings can't even get close to dealing with this, except with inordinate numbers. So, we'll see if ByuN's mech strategy can go... Well, he's going to know now. The Cyclones, the Zerglings get in. There's no getting away. He's going to spot all 3 factories. ByuN finding himself with some of the mech Marines here in the form of Cyclones. And honestly, finding it this early is about as good as SHIN could hope for. ByuN forced back from his 3rd base, which is where the natural would usually be. He's got roaches on the way. Lair is finishing up. Pretty much just angling towards more roaches instead of just Zergling seems to be the ticket here. Though you want a mix of both in order to be able to eat some of the lock-ons from the Cyclones and not give them such a juicy target to pick off. Alright, another Overlord knocked down by the still unupgraded Cyclones, but they do plenty of damage. I believe it's 400 damage over about 11 seconds. With the default, and then 600. It's a gratuitous amount. It's just so much terrible damage if they're allowed to continue to lock on. But the Cyclones themselves are not a cheap unit. The infrastructure investment in mech cannot be understated. 100 gas per factory, 50 gas per armor, let alone the upgrades. He's going for the armor because pretty much the weapons... The Cyclone lock-on is a spell, which means it goes right through armor, so weapon upgrades are irrelevant. And the Infernal Pre-Igniter is a base amount applied. It is unaffected by weapon upgrades. I'm 90% sure of that one, but weapon upgrades, of course, help, especially in Hellbound mode. Some Zerglings get by. Cyclones trying to pick away. SHIN at 67 drones overall. ByuN at 65 SCVs, building 4 clones at a time and begun the Clone Wars out. The Ravagers and Lings trying to duel with it. Pops one of the Ravagers like a fancy cauldron, and Roach Speed is about to complete. The creep is going to be required. Targets down 1 Cyclone. Make that 2. Hellions trying to cover, but the covering fire in the literal sense is not enough to stop the Roaches from closing. And the Queens, why are they allowed to attack while moving? Oh, because the Terrans get all the fun toys, because they whine so much. And you can't say that. They're gonna get angry in the comments. Thus my poor fungal on the Cyclones. And catches another chunk of them. SHIN is at 40 supply. And so far, ByuN has been shut down entirely. His mech build showing its brittleness in the face of just the sheer amount of Zerg. 17 more Roaches in production, 50 supply gap. The Cyclones can take, I would say, trades, but for the most part, they're just kind of free kills as long as you're able to kite back. But eventually, you run to the ends of the Earth, and there's no more Earth to run to. Going to be forced to cancel the 4th command center. ByuN, his economy somewhat stalled out, but SHIN did not get a hive. He did not. Well, I guess he has a 4th base, but only 70 drones. ByuN actually has a worker lead. But right now, 7 Cyclones, 4 Hellions, 74 SCVs, and a heavily inflated opinion of how much he can get done with these Cyclones. Engineering bay is on the way, but I'm sure that's for... I think he's realizing now he can't build a planetary without an Engi bay. And tunneling claws is the choice. Will be spotted immediately. Those Cyclones just annihilating the Roaches from downtown. Might as well burrow to force some of the scans. Well, if he had the burrow upgrade. It's always curious that you can get tunneling claws without burrow. In that case, it's just a decorative upgrade, because it makes you look extra fancy. I mean, the Cyclones, they have their laser eyes, or if you're going to anthropomorphize eyes on the Cyclones, the little red lasers indicate their upgrade's done. The blue flame Hellions, the flames are blue. Okay, that one should be able to figure out unless you're colorblind, but I think it still works in some fashion. Infester, sharking around through the kind of confusing terrain / platform of the map, but going to find its way in, and a fungal gets thrown out. Some of the Cyclones will be pushed into the corner. It appears SHIN does put ByuN in the corner, and the Roaches and Ravagers will be more than enough to rip the Terran army apart. The nuts and bolts of the army scattered throughout the field. The supply plummets 190 to 130. The only saving grace is one, sniping off that Infester. The fact that this army is so good on defense, and that SHIN does not have a hive. But the sheer weight of the Zerg is bearing down on the Terran, and the Cyclones can only micro back so far. Burrows to break the lock. Scans in order to deal with it. The missile turret actually helped out, but now he's breaking into the buildings. The Cyclones will retreat behind the mineral line. More corrosive bile scattered out than an unruly frat party. 10 SCVs going down. The supply depot wall will be torn asunder. Zerglings trickling in. The Cyclone locks will be broken immediately by killing either the Zerglings or just running away, but another half-dozen clones at a time. Somehow ByuN supply has gone up during this. He's got some siege tanks on the back line, but there are 4 Vipers in production as SHIN has progressed to the next stage of the game. And if he's able to break the planetary fortress, ByuN is soon to follow. But those Cyclones are an absolute menace. The moment you turn your back, they'll be taking a good look at it. In fact, they'll call down scans from orbital commands just to watch you leave. And I was supposed to sound more suggestive than it was. Check my Dronely fans. Meanwhile, Roaches and Ravagers continue to close in, but the Infester from the back pops up and holds them down for the Roaches to get a little bit closer. But the supplies are getting dangerously close as well, as SHIN doesn't have so much production he can continue to trade with the Cyclones on the open field. Hydralisk with speed are in production, but 5 Cyclones at a time. He got a few siege tanks, an admission to how strong SHIN's overall production was. +2 ranged attack for SHIN, and +2 mech armor for ByuN. Quite an exchange there, clearly indicating, well, armor doesn't do anything against the Cyclone lock, and weapons do nothing for it. So that's the exchange we're having now with the upgrades. We got to simmer down a moment, both sides kind of teching up. assessing the situation. ByuN with 90 SCVs. Did he spot the roach sign? He did. This map is so obvious. So you can actually see the roaches burrow moving, but it actually really depends on the tile set of the map. If it's light colored, it's very easy to see the roach sign kind of underneath the ground or platform or wherever it is. They can burrow under a lot of stuff. But it honestly, it might be relevant to move your roaches only on the darker platforms of the map so it's not so obvious. But I don't think that's going to factor in to the tactics here. ByuN expanding like a Zerg himself. In fact, he still maintains more supply. The Hellions charbroiling another mineral on. 11 drones incinerated by the blue flame. The Cyclones, but another base is going to be delayed. Bottom left corner. Hydra's lunging in, knocking on a command center. Tries to lift, knocked down in the process. Cyclones locking on again, but get over here! Locks onto a couple of the Vipers. I don't know if it breaks the lock on itself mid-flight. Meanwhile, Hellbat trying to deal with the Queens. So far, the Queens just pin-cushioning them to death. The Hydra's munging forward. Another Cyclone or two going to be taken down. ByuN plummets another 50 supply. Greater Spire is on the way. In production, putting a timer. Well, that's in anticipation of maybe some more siege tanks. But if he's just going to make Cyclones, I think Hydras and Lings are probably the ticket. Greater Spire halfway done. +1 mech weapons and +3 armor in production. ByuN with 8 factories. The Industrial Revolution has been undergone. There's a barracks just floating around on the left side of the map. There are so many bases out there. But SHIN is starting to bank money. He's working on +3 ranged attack. Adrenal glands, forget about it. Spine crawlers being added in. As SHIN solidifies his position, ByuN was not able to really get the momentum that this sort of mobile mech composition relies on. These are expensive units, very mobile ones, that can trade almost infinitely. But SHIN has been able to push him back towards his side of the map. And that's when those trades get a lot more difficult. Still, so much map to work with. Neither player out of it yet. SHIN with a clear advantage. The Cyclones being dragged out by the Vipers. ByuN showing no hint of bothering with ghosts. But the Vipers are yanking out one at a time, and if he can keep them alive for multiple pulls. Well, 13 Corruptors on the way. Clearly working towards the Broodlord. The Cyclones brought up close and personal. But the rest of the army, look at that Terran army just trundling over the field, locking on to everything it can. And SHIN is switching into Broodlords right now. That means his ground army is mediocre at best. He's not going to have the supply. Are there any infestors left? No! The ground army is 5 roaches and 7 hydras. That's not really enough. The Queens are coming down and being cut down immediately. The Zerglings are trickling in and getting immolated by the few Hellions that remain. He is consuming a hatchery at point-blank range. More roaches and hydras. Queens trying to flank it. Brenda, no! I'm not going to be able to get the transfuse. Locks on and knocks down another Viper. The Cyclones are thinning out. The Queens also eating some of the hits. And SHIN, but the skin of his weird Zerg teeth seems like he'll hold. It's enough. But SHIN has exhausted his entire mineral bank. He jumped the gun. Metaphorically, of course, when it comes to the Zerg. Trying to go to Broodlords while your standing army is not enough. He skipped past, well, he did not have infestors. He did not have lurkers. What is going on? Those Cyclones disappearing and reappearing. But, cloak for Cyclones? Maybe next patch. The Cyclones, the Broodlords are required though. The Broodlords have gone completely unscouted. And they are certainly a lot to contend with. Writing about the siege tanks just became a liability as opposed to a boon. 5 Thors in production simultaneously. Going for some heavy metal now that he's dealing with the strongest late game option for Zerg. Not a lot of great ones, alright. A gold base. There's a gold base over there. There's so many bases. Oh my. The roaches and hydras, he scans and he picks off half of them before they could even really unburrow and move away. A bunch of drones getting locked on as well. The Cyclone's so fragile, even with +3 armor. Those are fully upgraded roaches and hydras. Tries to lock on to another round. He can take down the broods on their own, both the roach hydra and the broodlings will eat the lock-ons from the Cyclones. Unless you manually micro them, which obviously you should, but let's be honest here. Unless you manually micro them, the broodlords will negate the Cyclones easily. So, starport's on the way. 5 Thors punched out. Still maxed out as ByuN, with that full mech army. But SHIN raining down with the broods. The siege tank's quite a liability. The Cyclone's looking for the counterattack. The ground army kind of out of position. ByuN clearly trying to trade this army out. Gonna knock down a whole lot of the overlords. They thought they were safe in the midst of the base, but the heart of the swarm is not what it once was. The Vipers yanking. Get over here! The Hydras will eventually clean this up, but ByuN bought the time he was looking for. Was it worth it, and was it enough? Oh. 6 more Cyclones at a time. The Broodlord count, 8 of them. Overhead, +1 melee attack. The slow zones, the SCVs, but also the broodlings. Everyone in the slow zone here. No answer to the Vipers, 5 of them. 5 Vipers. Even with Thors, which might be able to pick them off. That is... well, if they get close. Both sides. These armies are so dangerous to one another. SHIN with the Broodlords and Vipers is in a good position, but he's bringing the Thors forward in every single... well. Every single Thor pulled out of the composition, and it's Ragnarok now. The Hydra's lunging forward. Broodlings. Vikings will try to avenge them. Appropriately so, but I think too little. And almost certainly too late. The ghostless mech composition. The Broodlord switch eventually was the ticket. It almost was the death of SHIN. And again, he's pushing ByuN back. It's not... he has money in the bank. He's mining comfortably. I'd love to say this could keep going, but ByuN is running out of real estate, and SHIN can easily replace this army again and again and again. Even if he ends up losing the broods, the Hydras are zoning out. 31 SCVs dead. The Cyclones will lock on. Flesh is malleable and weak. The mech army reigns supreme. Mech Terran great again. Grandpa! No! Marines are fine! Build a wall! It doesn't help against Broodlords, Grandpa. They can fly. Fake news! Grandpa. These mech supremacists. SHIN has taken the gold base. 199 to 130 supply. The Cyclones lock on. He's gonna be able to knock out the hedges, but it's clearly desperation. The Cyclone's on the run. That's right. Yeah, come back here. Let me get you with my tentacles. Gimme. The Cyclones still run in circles. But again, those circles are spiraling like the Zerg logo right now. ByuN, I think if he scouted the Broodlords a little earlier, he had a real shot to just overwhelm them with a attrition-style mech. Wow. Almost 100,000. I think that's a new record. I saw Clem versus Raynor at about 85,000. That was nearly 100,000 resources lost in 21.5 minutes. I think that is the most resources lost I've ever seen per minute especially including that much gas. Wow! These two just annihilating one another. And we see whatever Shin's left. Ah, wow. What a game. ByuN, more than willing to embrace the map. And again, another one of our flavorful maps. I do gotta say, SHIN appreciating the Zerg player ranked #1 by Dark. It's Dark. Using the Dark portrait. I feel like SHIN is Dark's apprentice. Okay. Like, unfortunately, he never quite completed his training. Gonna do some trash talk. Now that's a good... Bantering with ByuN is an important part of the training, to be fair. Have you tried playing a real composition? I'm trying to be creative and you're just playing boring. Okay. Well, maybe if Zerg had any options for anti-air, then I wouldn't have to play like that. Well, that sounds like a skill issue. You think mech takes skill? $15 hatch, really? Actually, I have no idea what he's saying. But the ByuN banter is a classic. It's always awkward when he starts talking and then his opponents don't. Or they say one thing. But SHIN willing to engage here today. I feel like ByuN versus SHIN is our new ByuN versus Dark. Really filling those apprentice shoes. That apprentice loincloth. No. Okay. The apprentice robe and wizard hat. Okay. There we are. Really, ByuN? ByuN? Well, SHIN did start it. Right? This is command center first. You can't just keep going command center first, ByuN. Who's going to stop me? Said laughing. SHIN mining through the mineral wall. Yeah, 2 Rexes. What are you gonna do about it? And this is why StarCraft players type like this. I've talked about this before, how it stands out in normal, like text conversation. Typing like you've got to do like another part of your build in between statements. Like, I'm 2-rexing. Does the 2-rex. Get ready. Adds on a factory. You can actually see their build happening in between it as well. Yes, we'll leave it at that, though. Unless SHIN is willing to retort. Indeed he is. Alright, this is the time before laying your first creep tumor. And there's no Reaper to dance with. So now we do the dancing of words in the chat box. The WPM reaching higher than the APM. As these two probably able to do their build up to the 7-minute mark while still chatting. Okay, we're gonna... Okay, guys. Well, yeah, we're playing... I don't know why I'm exhausted. I can't actually read Korean. I'm just making it up. Jimmy, edit that out. They need to believe. Is it weird that... So occasionally, when I watch other shows like... I guess Squid Game would be a good example. Though I haven't watched any of the new seasons. I don't know how many seasons there are now. But... like an example of a show that's not in English. Sometimes I'll put it on in the background, like I'll put some other terrible show on. Not often, but then I'll look away because I'm so used to reading the subtitles. Look away and then realize, wait a second, I don't speak Korean, and I just missed like 5 minutes because I wasn't reading. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I hope that's not a unique experience. And I hope that for those of you who speak English as a second language, like I know we got a lot of Spanish speakers and Americans out there who don't know English very well. So, you guys. So hopefully that's not a, and even if it is, I'm not sure if it auto translates the subtitles here on YouTube. But these two were still chatting about random stuff throughout the whole game. I don't feel so bad about it, but 5 minutes in, we're finally gonna play. I found it very hard to focus on the build while they were both still chatting. But ByuN, of course, has a bunch of Marines. He's got medevacs, he's got stim. And that's really all he needs. All right, that's all the tools that he's ever needed in his career. Occasionally he'll try something spicy like that mech build last game. But we're back to basics. The M&M. Actually, well, really just the M&M here, but... And my tanks. SHIN with the roach defense. With evolution chambers on the later side. Making sure he has roach speed first. Really pumping out the roaches. 55 drones. 55 drones. A minimal number. But ByuN clearly focused on hitting this time. Double drop, slide towards the main and the... This is restricted lair space by order of the Hatchery Owners Association. Brenda, are you doing an accent? No! Mm-hmm. How dare you? Sorry. I am... that's a mess out here today. Where are those drones going? Some predator drones heading out. Is he mining through ByuN's mineral wall, or? Well, a bunch of siege tanks on the low ground. This is quite a precarious position to be expanding. Siege tanks are hitting the base from far out of range of anything but maybe Ravagers with corrosive bile, so good luck with that. Just +1 attack for ByuN. Starting armor now, just getting the 3rd command center started as well. So not a super greedy build, but instead an all-out timing. And now it comes down to how much fire and fury that he's able to bring forward as SHIN is again with the Roach Ravager up by 30 plus supply. Though he's not going to have the upgrades too quickly, and he's in a pretty tough position to engage this army. That's a lot of Marines. SHIN trying to angle in. Won't be surprised if they just restart the conversation here, but... +1 ranged attacking Carapace on the way. The Roach Ravager unleashes some corrosive bile, knocks out one tank, trying to split the damage. But the tanks are getting some big hits, and the Marines are stimming down and tearing through. He's gonna get a couple more Ravagers with it. I don't think enough siege tanks were taken out, and now a critical mass of Marines throws out the corrosive bile, just moonwalks right through it, and Micro Jackson is getting the damage done. The corrosive bile easily stutter steps through, slurps up the Marines on the way. Well, most of the... They'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. 2 siege tanks left over doing punishing damage. And the supply gap has closed dramatically. SHIN just now finished his hive, but the damage he's taken has been critical here. Marines assaulting the base down in the center. SHIN kind of scrambling to try to figure out where to actually take a 4th base that isn't going to be hit by siege tanks from the low ground. And so far, not finding a solution to that particular problem, as the siege tanks are well ensconced by the cliff and other terrain features. Marines and Marauders, yeah, more Marauders being added in, as the commitment to the Roach composition is increasingly so. Reinforcements dealing with the counterattacking Roaches. Getting any sort of counterattack is very important for SHIN right now. But he can't really afford to lose much. He'll supply block ByuN with 1 second on that depot. Are there any Vipers? He did finish the hive. Wait, no, he canceled the hive. Wow, that's not good. I mean, in the moment, getting a few hundred resources back is important, but... Well, here we go. He's going to try to break out the one tank on the low ground. Splits the corrosive bow. The Marines will try to hold their ground, but they're surrounded by Zerg and will have to extract themselves as quickly as possible. And now SHIN is headed back across the map. He's got a 40 supply lead, trying to break down the rocks. The slow zones. How do these rocks in the center work? It's a destructible rock tower. Can he drop it on top of the roaches and ravagers? I don't think I've seen anyone actually take them down. I'm pretty sure it destroys the slow zones. But nobody's a violent geologist enough to find out so far. Meanwhile, the roaches and ravagers are closing, and the boys will be pulled. +2 weapons now completed for ByuN. Right on time to deal with this push. The corrosive bow splitting back. 50 supply down. Siege tank on the high ground. Single volley taken down by the roaches. ByuN trying to turn it around. 17 SCVs dead. The Marines and Marauders with more medevacs than their count above. And ByuN is not out of it yet, but he's certainly not doing incredible right now. Down 50 supply. The Roach Ravager trying to break through the rocks. Do the collapsible. I think there are 2 of them, though, right on top of each other. But 2-2 upgrades for SHIN. The 4th command center for ByuN is vulnerable, but also quite a stopping block here. Will finish at the last moment. Might be able to take it down with the next round of corrosive bile, but the bile ball is holding the line for now. More rocks. Anything that gets in the way. But ByuN down 50 supply, but he has some of the most cost-efficient army, and the hive just now restarts. SHIN put everything into this attack. The 200 Stefano-style roaches, but ByuN turning the corner. 10 medevacs above. The siege tanks on the high ground. The army supplies, well, still pretty close as well. ByuN just slides back out because corrosive bow takes approximately 14 years to land. Baneling nest is on the way. That hive halfway there. ByuN has evened up the upgrades. And the closer he gets to 200 supply, the better chance he has to deal with this army head on. Backs up. The roaches, the ravagers, the corrosive bile raining down, but SHIN still unable to break ByuN, and ByuN is climbing back up in supply. In that lack of long-term tech, that lack of hive, may very well come back to bite SHIN. He was so close to breaking through, but now ByuN is looking somewhat be unstoppable. He needs the infestors. If he could get Vipers. SHIN's maxed out. Unfortunately, this army is just 200 away. He needs to trade and rebuild. That is the issue now. ByuN actually built an orbital command to the north. Roach Warren goes down. Ultraless Cavern begins. Bit of a desperation move. He rebuilds the Roach Warren. Reinforcements will take it out. ByuN takes the supply lead for the first time in, well, almost the entire game. Really trying to get to Baneling speed. Comes up the ramp. Huge fungal. Chains it together. And a big chunk of bile will be obliterated. The Banelings don't need speed if he's able to hold them down that well. But so much more bile headed south. The 6 o'clock base under fire. A Venn diagram of Freedom is covering the siege tanks on the back line. The infestors trying to come forward. But the bile's pushing them back for now. The siege tanks can potentially retarget. More bile, forced back by the Ravagers, knocks down both Liberators and siege tanks. The Ravagers doing so much work for SHIN right now. And ByuN, not quite able to break through. He's going to have the 3-3 upgrades, though. And he's got a decisive upgrade advantage for the first time in a long time. SHIN still holding on. Another siege tank picked up by the Zerglings. Do they have adrenal glands? Don't be ridiculous. Zerglings, giving them the run around. Ravagers on the high ground. Burrow is completed. This game has turned into quite a brawl. The Spore Crawler takes out a Liberator. Medivac's pretty low on energy across the board. He's going to pick up, and he's going to head for the main. He flies over the burrowed infestors. Zergling's looking for a counterattack. But ByuN with his signature move, dropping the base like it's a Skrillex album right now. And the main base is looking mighty vulnerable. The Ultraless Cavern itself. Chitin is plating 2/3, 3/4 of the way done. We'll scan for infestors. We'll target the Ultra Cavern. He didn't expect it. He can't stop it. The Baneling Nest, the tech tree cut off at the stump. The infestation pit is taken down. And ByuN, for the first time this game, drops the main base. And for the most important time, will knock out the tech. But the fungal rolls through. He's off a creep. The Ravager's still landing some hits. But the bio has unloaded. The Zerglings trying to find an angle. But there's too much Terran. He comes in for another round. The spawning pool itself is vulnerable. The supply is still dangerously close to even. But the Roach Ravager just doesn't have the stopping power. Not against the fully upgraded bio army of ByuN, who survives to the 15.5-minute mark. And he turns the game around. It looked like it was ByuN's game to lose, but SHIN struck back. But if you don't kill a Terran with the Roach Ravager, you have to have a follow-up. And SHIN followed short. Oh, that made sense. All right. Wow. These two, again, brawling it out. 5 minutes of banter followed by 10 more minutes of wanton destruction. And another one of our dramatic new maps. I'm excited to see what they come up with here as well. Both players using him to the fullest. Oh, here we go again. You think bio was fair? Well, I went back and you saw what happened. Oh, so they should have 2 compositions instead of just playing like an AI. I like the ... on the end. I'm not sure if it means the same thing in Korean conversation as it does in English conversation, but slapping that ... on the end. Meaning like, really? Really? Like, Zerg is fair and balanced. Also, beautiful map, by the way. With the purple rain. A very royal thing. I love the... Wow. Those are really blending with the speed zones well. Ooh. Hey, don't be weird. Yeah, we get it. It goes a little faster. I don't need to know how it tingles. Some Zerg rocks off to the side. Honestly, this looks like a World of Warcraft zone. I'm not sure what Legionella means. I can't help but think of some sort of uncomfortable disease you catch in a place that looks similar to this, but... That is a beautiful map. Is that a pocket base? It is an okay map. A pocket base with a Reaper Cliff. ByuN, command center first again, because of course. I'm gonna get the 2 rags follow-up. The mech didn't work out for him, but the bio held the line. For the most part. SHIN, trying to figure out where to expand again. And as the next phase of the build, comes through. The banter, the next round of banter is unlocked. You know, knowing ByuN, they could be talking about something completely unrelated to the game. Right. Shit, laughing about it, whatever it is. Taking down the Zerg rocks, which, somewhat amusingly, are not bleeding out normally or dehydrating like Zerg buildings do, because he has creep touching it, so he has to do it the old-fashioned way. SHIN expanded to the top right corner, which is so far from the base. Feel like we have to explore like different quest hubs here. I can't get rid of the World of Warcraft vibe on this map. Well, the last time I really played World of Warcraft. So, it was my World of Warcraft. If you're watching this the day of it's released, assuming Jimmy gets it together, it's the 15th anniversary of StarCraft 2. Released July 27th of 2010, which is when my World of Warcraft arena partners were like, we're not playing today, we're playing this new game, StarCraft 2. So I went up to GameStop, you know, like the store, not the meme stock. I guess technically both, but not the point. And I got that box. Okay, that we broke out a few. Okay, we got time, we got time. But yes, went up to GameStop and got myself one of these. StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty. War is coming in all its glory, in all its horror. Little did I know, for 15 years, it'd keep me busy. That box has gone through a lot. But, that was originally, yeah, back in Wrath of the Lich King. Though, most of the time just playing arena. Like a sweaty tryhard. Resto Druid and, let me reclaim some respect, Frost Mage. And a bit of Disc Priest, but I could really play range classes on my old PC, because it sucks so hard, I couldn't reliably play melee. I mean, eventually I got a better one, it was better for that, but like 10 FPS is not good enough to stay in melee range in World of Warcraft. Moving on. Just like ByuN. Better PC now. Hopefully you notice. Like and subscribe, so I can continue to use absolutely overpowered hardware on a game that the minimum specs were Pentium 4 with an NVIDIA GeForce 8600, 128 megabytes. Yeah. And a gig of RAM. On Windows XP. Or Vista. Let's say XP. Hey boys, up! Traitor in our midst. ByuN, so far, finding some success with the drops, but SHIN, 67 drones ready. Happy anniversary, StarCraft. To 15 more. You're like, really? 15 more? Well, Brood War's still going, ain't it? And okay, Grandpa. Back in my day, everyone went mech. Alright, you'd start as bio, you ended up going mech because flesh is weak and mech. Grandpa. That watchtower, the grass growing around it, siege tanks covering the watchtower, always a difficult situation to... Is that? There's an unbuildable rocks blocking the pocket base? Who knew? I don't think SHIN did, because he sent the drone down well before actually dealing with it, but the double drop in the main, though. Sorry. The triple drop in the main. And the Marines just gunning down the roaches one by one. No SHIN. Overall, the trajectory of his build, way ahead economically. He's got 66 drones. He's got a hive on the way. Okay, a laundry list of upgrades. Zergling speed, burrow, +1 ranged attack, +1 carapace, and tunneling claws yet again. But ByuN is going up to... Is that the Octo Rex? No, just 5. His third base is down on the low ground. He didn't bother with the pocket base. I believe it has, 6 mineral patches and 1 gas. So it's like a 2/3 base. It's a base light. Starter edition base. Something. Premium access. I don't know how we're advertising nowadays. Tunneling claws is done. Burrow as well, but I think ByuN will spot it before he's able to use it, which is a bit unfortunate, as ideally you're able to use it as a surprise early on. But so far, SHIN again is going to have this huge amount of roaches and ravagers up against ByuN, who has a much more conventional Terran. Alrighty, we've got Marines, Marauders, Medevacs, and Tanks. The M. He's brought it all together. The income, about even. Ultraless Cavern. And SHIN. SHIN, come on. One time! Adrenal glands! He's like, no. That could be another Viper. Technically correct, but... You have 45 links and you're building 20 more. 40% attack speed on the unit you sometimes build. I've seen him build over 1,000 Zerglings without adrenal glands. One of these days, I will find a way to corner SHIN and get someone to ask him why. I'm sure he speaks enough English to know what I would be saying of pointing at adrenal glands and asking. But a massive drop in the main, trying to target the Ultraless Cavern. A bit optimistic. The Viper. I apologize for anyone I got too excited. As the Viper's consuming the hive. 27 Banelings on the way. No Ultras. Baneling speed isn't quite done yet. That's a big push coming out of ByuN. Up to that top right corner. He's not quite maxed out, but the army supplies are about even. Another Baneling nest is on the way. That drops back into the main. The Queen's trying to drive it out. The hatchery taking a lot of damage. That's a lot of Banelings easily targeted by Blinding Cloud on one of the tanks. Blinding Cloud on the bio. They can't see anything. But the tanks in the back line are going to have a little bit of an easier time. 50 more Zerglings in production. A triple drop is loaded up and defending these bases without... What did he mean to build? He built another Bane Nest. Well, it's actually very easy if you're looking for like a Spore Crawler to misclick a Bane Nest. It's one of the more common misclicks. So I believe that was supposed to be a Spore Crawler. Yeah. You were supposed to be a Spore Crawler. No! Blinding Cloud. The base in the red, not quite dead. The Bio Army, half HP. That'll be enough. Stutter steps down the base. And ByuN laying the pressure on, but 3 Ultraless in production. Trying to chase it down. The upgrades are all over the place. The Octo Rex is fully online. 8 barracks, 2 factories, and a starport. SHIN just rolling with the punches here. Looks like a drop was cleaned up to the south. A couple more flying in. The Antiers, Queens, Vipers, and Spores. The army down the center. Another wave of Banelings is queued up. But the hatchery... taken down. And actually, SHIN really struggling. He's dropping creep with his overlords in order to maintain his +3 carapace upgrade. Ultras all over the map. Maneuvering the entire army for both sides is quite a struggle. Looks like he's just going to lose that evolution chamber. The overlord... Yeah, we should have gotten speed. Meanwhile, the Ultras, Lings, and Banes trundling through into that. That's the natural. Not even sure if ByuN has considered that back base, but 20 drones and 2-bit. We're going into a full-on base trade. As some of the Ultras trying to come back, the Bio Army, it's a mess out here. ByuN losing a lot of his supply depots. If only those Zerglings were able to attack even faster. Meanwhile, onto the high ground. There's some roaches in the main to stall it out. Banelings coming up the ramp. Going to be able to just roll right through, and the Ultras helping to clean things up. ByuN caught on both sides and cloven in twain. And full energy Viper's parasitic bomb doing terrible, terrible damage to the medevacs. He doesn't have any left over, but a few of the more bruised ones will be taken down. The rest badly, badly damaged and have to go back home. +3 armor denied on both sides. What a hectic game. Neither player, I think, really easily able to navigate the map. The drops are they've clearly done a number on SHIN. You should have been a spore crawler. This is all you're good for now. You ever felt like a second Baneling nest getting consumed by 3 Vipers? No? Well, that's not surprising. I mean, parasitic bombs across the board. The medevacs wiped out of the sky. The speed zones allow the Ultras to chase even further. Caught up against the watchtower. Another parabomb. And the medevacs, a strong gust of wind would knock him out of the sky. SHIN starting to dip on some... Well, that's still a lot. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Another brutal game. These two just completely ripping each other to shreds. Every game has been a back and forth roller coaster. And we're not off the wild ride quite yet. We're going to Tokamak SHIN on match point. But it's unclear who has the advantage, even though SHIN is winning. I know that sounds dumb, but you get what I was going for. All right, cut me a break here. We don't take breaks, but like metaphorically. Don't do it. Don't go command center first again. Oh my god. Is this the new 2 Rex? The new 2 Rex is command center first for ByuN. He just keeps doing it. I don't think he's made a Reaper this entire series so far. ByuN, the man who got them nerfed twice, now going to completely ignore that unit in favor of No, he didn't make a Reaper on Antimatter either. Map 1. It's gonna be the 2 right now. It's the sign of how 1 evenly matched and 2 how hectic the games are. I'll admit I was a bit distracted by the banter I could not understand and the nostalgia of 15 years, of which ByuN has been a pro for like at least 14 of them. I'm not sure if he participated in the first season of GSL, but I know by 2011 he definitely was. So, one of our oldest players, but still going and still keeping up. Which is all any of us can hope for, right? How's the back pain? Ye old 2 Rex Marine Medevac. I'm assuming Marine Medevac, but I mean... Waiting for exactly enough minerals for stim. Oh, there you go. But shit. Shin calling the bluff a little. Like, ByuN just... this isn't even quick Zerglings. This is just normal lings. He only had one well... Apparently he's gonna get away with it anyways. As Shin not even bothering. He has 100 gas. But he's not using it. Which has to be intentional. Will he try for some big, all-in? Holding on to the gas. I mean, just trying to get a few more drones out, I guess. Yeah, there's the roach one. Alright, alright, alright. The Marines all tucked in, just in case the Zerglings come knocking again. They're not studying their best. Shin really leaning on the roaches. Looks like yet again, it's going to be that mass roach style. It's mostly worked out from honestly kill switch. I feel like on almost any other map, the Roach Ravager would have been enough. He was so close to breaking through. But ByuN took full advantage of all the choke points and the low ground sieging up to the high, making it very difficult to cost-effectively break him. Otherwise, the Roaches, they're not flashy, but they get the job done. Against mech or bio. Quantity has a quality all its own. +1 attack on the way. The Marines headed across the map, just walking the old-fashioned way. Not you. One of them didn't make the cut. The Marines? That's too many roaches. Shin is ready. Cut at 40-something drones. Made a round of roaches, and now back to the drones again. But really respecting the danger that these dudes pose with those medevacs. ByuN with 2 medevacs full of Marines is an existential threat to anyone in the game. Including himself, depending on how committed he is. Third command center just started. ByuN does need to keep some control of the situation. He doesn't need to kill the army. He doesn't need to kill too many drones. But he certainly has to stop a 4th base from happening. If he can do that for a while, he's still building up at home. He's going to be behind economically, but it's going to be a similar scenario to game number 2, where he was able to eventually leverage that cost efficiency in order to come out ahead. All right, you want a piece of meat, boys? I got your meat right here. Hey, how you doing? Oh. Yikes. Marines cutting down 5 drones. Picks up. Only loses a couple. Gets a queen as well. Shin inching upwards in supply. Has infestors mixed in now to try to hold him down. And ideally knock him out afterwards. More Zerglings targeted. Third command center, not even an orbital on the way. He's going to land it as soon as possible. There's already a hive halfway done. So. ByuN does need to get damage soon. He needs to hit this 4th base hard. There's infestors, but he hasn't spotted them yet. That 4th base canceled before the fight even starts. Shin knows he can't hold on to it. He's invested so much in the future that he has to be very careful with what he has right now. But ByuN backs off, giving Shin the benefit of the doubt. Honestly, I think he could have gone forward, but he didn't know the full extent of the army and didn't want to risk it. If he had seen the hive timing, 100% ByuN continues forward. But that's part of the poker game of StarCraft 2. You don't know if they're going hive. You don't know if they're rushing towards Ultralisk Cavern at this ridiculously fast timing. And that means you don't know if you have an opportunity for sure. But the triple drop headed towards the main pre-scans, making sure he's not walking into a trap or flying into one. Drag some of the army out of the way, going to rotate around and try to hit the base on the left side. SHIN anticipating it, spots the infestors though, backs off clearly. Looking to deal with it. Splits the Marines, trying to bait out the fungal, does so. Easily heals through. A few more going forward. SHIN, not taking, well, yeah, look at that spread. I can't believe it's not butter. Corrosive Bow doesn't find much. Those siege tanks getting big hits at maximum distance. Ultra's on the way, and again, ByuN is able to delay the fourth base. Objective accomplished. Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Triple drop headed back towards the main. Roach Ravager moves to intercept, but he's already preemptively in place to deal with the next base. But soon Ultralisk will be in his face. And ByuN's race doesn't have anything besides maybe some tanks. And we'll see if they'll be tanking him or the other way around. Or something profound. Bio moving up. Not enough for a fungal, but an ultra pops out of the egg. Don't ask how that works. Chitinous plating isn't done yet. Still paperlisks here. 2-2 is on the way. +2 carapace is done for SHIN. So the ultras still quite tanky. Gonna take a lot of volleys from the bio. And the siege tanks takes down a couple. Triple drop. Boxed out by the roaches. SHIN maintains the supply. More ultras on the way. Not that much in the main to deal with this, but the drop was a little haphazard. Gonna kill off some more drones. ByuN may actually take the worker lead here. He does. But the ultras... More marauders in production. Only 2 siege tanks. The ultras are the elephant in the room alongside your mother and hen. I don't know if ByuN has enough to deal with them. He's underestimating the sheer amount of ultras. I mean, I guess there's not much else to do besides build up marauders and mines. As at this stage of the game, he doesn't have the economy to just switch magically into ghosts. And that would take his tech lab barracks as well. The marauders are a stopgap, but that's all he can do right now. Picks up a triple drop, but the ultras are already trundling across. The drop is going to be in purgatory, as the full army of SHIN could be bearing down on the Terran base. Fungal catches the first group. The triple drop going... Are we going into another base trade? The Widow Mine's hitting the ultras hard. The infestors coming forward, catches a bit more of the bio. And a couple more behind that. The siege tanks hitting the infestors, obliterating them before they get too close. On the wrong side, the depots will keep the ultras at bay for now. The drop in the very back, but it's getting cleaned up. ByuN not getting enough damage done on the other side. The ultras are inside the house and chewing through the bio, but he almost kills it with his own corrosive bile. Okay, wait a second. ByuN's going to be able to drive this back. But the drop... The ultra can't get back there, but the roaches certainly can. ByuN tried to base trade, but SHIN still has bases left, and ByuN looking pretty dry. He drops the mules, a stimulus package to stim some more, but at the end of the day, will it even matter? There's still plenty on the field. This is not the convoluted map of last game, where it seemed like neither player knew exactly where they were going at any particular time. Instead, SHIN is consolidating his forces. He knows he has the advantage. He knows he has the workers. He knows he did critical damage, and he doesn't know what adrenal glands is. But that likely won't matter. A single marauder. Gonna drag some of the supply back. The bio army. Meanwhile, we're base ready again. Corrosive bile doing just as much damage as the bio itself. Couple infestors with plenty of energy, throws it out, can't pick it up, ripped apart. And GG. SHIN takes the series 3-1. What a back and forth brawl of a series. ByuN refusing to do anything but drop the base, and SHIN obliging him with the base trade. It just did not go very well that time around. But still, one of the most action-packed... Honestly, that game one, I think, is the most dramatic, most resources lost in that amount of time I've ever seen. The sheer amount of units they lost in game one is record-breaking. I'd challenge someone to find a game with a higher resources per minute lost, though every game was pretty competitive in that respect. So, hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did. Hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So, thank you. You all to your patrons bringing in the extra minerals, Big Jiggy, Devin, Door, Kate, Mario, Random Guy in Suit, and to everyone. Glad you still enjoy. I hope I made your day a little bit better. And I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Happy anniversary, StarCraft. And stay chill.